ॐ ॐ ॐ सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ सप्तमोऽध्यायः ज्ञानविज्ञानयोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यासक्तमना पार्थ योगं युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः असंशयं समग्रं मां यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु। ज्ञानं तेऽहं सविज्ञानमिदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः यज्ज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यत् ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते। मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः। भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकार इति यं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टधा अपरेयमितस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम्। जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत् एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय। अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय। मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव रसोऽहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्ययोः। प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दः खे पौरुषं नृषु। पुण्यो गन्धः पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ। जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु। बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनम्। बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमताम् अस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम्। बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागविवर्जितम्। धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ। ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्रये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि। त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैः एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्। दैवी ह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते। न मां दुष्कृतिनो मूढाः प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमाः माययापहृतज्ञाना आसुरं भावमाश्रिताः। चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जना सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ तेषां ज्ञानी नित्ययुक्तः एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः उदारा सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम् बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेव सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया यो यो यां तनुं भक्तः श्रद्धयार्चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विदधाम्यहम् स तया श्रद्धया युक्तः तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मय्यैव विहितान् हितान् अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसाम् देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते माम बुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तः ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाश सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम् साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे ज्ञानविज्ञानयोगो नाम सप्तमोऽध्यायः तत्सत् अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते Hari Om. So yesterday we were looking at the 29th verse. I will just repeat the verse and then we will go to the new verse. जरा मरण मोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्. Refuge in me those who make effort for freedom from old age and death, they know that Brahman wholly as themselves, and they also know karma in its entirety. I repeat, having taken refuge in me, those who make effort for freedom from old age and death, they know that Brahman wholly as themselves, and they also know karma in its entirety. So when all our senses they start to leave the body and the body starts to disintegrate, we believe we have that feeling that aging and death stand for all the changes a body goes through: birth, growth, metamorphosis, decline, as well as all the mental modifications such as doership and enjoyership in the form of pleasure and pain. All our notions about ourselves are based on this, and it is from this that we want to be free. The intense desire for this freedom is born of the conclusion, I am subject to aging, I am mortal. As long as such a conclusion is there, there will be a desire for release. But it is not possible, and we know that. So there is always a desire to live a day more, and we know that is not always going to be possible. So there is a helplessness and naturally a fear. If you could help yourself, there would be no fear. But you cannot stop aging, much less death. Discerning the problem. So a person who is not under the spell of Raga Dvesha has a mind that can discern this and seek a real solution. He understands what has value in this life and seeks Paramatma now, before old age and death come. He discerns that he wants to get out of this problem entirely, not just out of the aging body. He wants to get out of the notion, I am subject to old age and death. The body does not say, I am afraid of old age. It just survives the years like a stone or any other inert object. It has no notion that it is getting older. You are the one who recognizes yourself as someone subject to old age and death. Therefore, moksha is not from physical old age or physical death. It is from the notion that I am subject to old age and death. So, from that notion alone is freedom, and that is the only freedom possible. How does one seek freedom from death? Taking refuge in Ishvara. They make effort. Mam ashritya yatanti. Mam means me, Ishvara. So pursuits based on their likes and dislikes are given up. And now they are seeking Ishvara. After analyzing their experiences, they find that fulfillment of Raga Dvesha is not exactly what they are seeking. That I am subject to Raga Dvesha is the problem. If that is very clear to a person, his refuge is Ishvara, and he becomes Jinashu. So here Bhagavan has given the solution. So we can come out of that Punarapi Janamam, Punarapi Maranam. We can come out of that cycle. I will just read a few important paragraphs. Spending one's time in these three, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, is reflecting on Parameshwara. This is the Brahma Abhyasa that we saw previously. Tat Chintanam, Tat Kathanam, Anyonyam, Tat Prabodhanam. Reflecting on the subject matter, talking about it to others, and discussing with fellow students, trying to understand and help each other is all part of Brahmabhyasa. This is what is meant by taking refuge in Parameshwara. It is important to understand the meaning of expressions such as this. One commentary I read long ago interpreted taking refuge in Ishvara to mean going to him for protection, as one would go to a stronger person when one is in trouble. Such appeals will definitely bless you. Any good karma will give its result. But to think that Ishvara is just another person who is protecting you is simplistic. Parmeshwara, Ashraya is something that requires understanding. It is not a simple thing. It is an absorption, a committed thinking and dwelling upon, which is accomplished by Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. This is Parmeshwara Ashraya. So beautifully Swamiji explained how Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana help us to get rid of our raga dvesha, get rid of that doership and enjoyership, and getting that tranquil mind which is focused on only Parmeshwara, Ishvara, who is nothing but the self-evident, self-existent Atma. The result of seeking Ishvara directly. Te Brahma Tat Viduhu. Having resorted to Parmeshwara, these people, they come to know Viduhu, that Brahman, Tat Brahma. It is clear from this that Ashraya is in the form of inquiry, and the result is that they come to know me as not separate from themselves. Tat is Param Brahma, who is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, and the cause of the whole creation. Taking refuge in me, the cause of everything, coming to know me, he naturally knows everything. Now look at this sentence. Mam ashritya yatanti. Taking refuge in me, they make effort. And what do they get? They get to know that Brahman, te viduhu tat Brahma, because I am Paramatma. This makes the meaning of yatanti very clear. The effort is for the sake of knowledge. That knowledge is for freedom from old age and death. Jara, Marana, Mokshaya. This means all you require for freedom is knowledge. But by knowing, how can anybody escape from old age and death? All the jnanis are dead and gone. That is, the bodies of the jnanis are gone. A jnani is never gone because he is Param Brahma. He is not separate. Bhagwan had said earlier, Jnani tu Atma eva me matam. I consider the Jnani as myself. That is chapter 7, verse 18. The immediacy of their knowledge. From this we understand that they know Brahman not only as the cause of creation and therefore remote paroksha, but as not other than themselves aparoksha. It is unlike what happens to Arjuna in the 11th chapter. Krishna gave Arjuna the capacity to see him in his cosmic form. As Arjuna looked, he saw the whole cosmos within Lord Krishna. All the stars and heavens, the earth, all the people, the Pandavas as well as Duryodhana and his group were within him. He saw everyone on the battlefield writhing within the mouth of time, sticking between the teeth of Lord Death as they were being consumed by time. He saw them all, not dead, but in the process of dying. And he was frightened. He saw the whole cause of creation in a particular form. Everything was included in that form. both cause and effect. So it was impossible to distinguish them. Seeing all this, he was frightened because he did not see himself there. That is enough for fear. Wherever one makes even a small division, there he will have a fear. Udaram antaram kurute atha tasya bhayam bhavati. Taittiriya verse 2 and 7. So Arjuna asked Krishna to return to his original form and experienced a great relief. The fear and the relief were all because Arjuna did not include himself. So Brahman has to be understood not just as the cause of creation, but as oneself. They also know that Brahman entirely as themselves. Kritsnam Adhyatmam. Kritsna means total, entire. Adhyatma means with reference to Atma, with reference to yourself. You have to see that Brahman as totally identical with yourself. Pratyagatma. The truth of Atma happens to be identical with Brahman. The one who knows this understands everything connected to Atma as identical with Brahman. Kritsnam Adhyatmam Tat Viduhu. Very beautiful. Please let me know if you want me to repeat any paragraph or if you want to share, please unmute and share. They also understand karma. Because of that, he now understands karma also very well. Karma cha akhilam te viduhu. He understands I do not do any action, nor do I cause anything to be done. At the same time, actions are done. He understands the truth of karma and the whole and the word akhila means entirely. I repeat, he understands the truth of karma and the word akhila means entirely. Therefore, it indicates that now he understands karma in its entirety. The truth about karma is that the doer, the object of the action, the means of doing the action, the purpose of doing the action, from where the action originates, anything connected to the action, and the logo of the action are all Brahman. We saw this in the fourth chapter. In a ritual, the means by which an oblation is offered, the oblation itself, the fire unto which is offered, and the one who makes the offering are all Brahman. That is chapter 4, verse 24. I will just repeat. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. So this is the truth of karma, and he knows this also. In his vision, karma is neither opposed to Brahman, nor is it something that has Brahman as its result. The one who knows this sees Brahman everywhere. So beautiful. What is this Brahman that these people come to know so totally? साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः. Ye च and those mam me sadhibhuta adhidaivam as centered on the physical world and as centered on the devata sadhi yajnam cha and as centered on the rituals. Viduhu, no, they, Yukta Chetasah, whose minds are absorbed in me. Prayana Kale api, even at the end of their life. Mam Viduhu, they know me. Yecha Mam Sadhibhuta Adhidaivam, Sadhi Yajnam cha Viduhu, te Yukta Chetasah, Prayana Kale api, Mam Viduhu. Those who know me as centered on the physical, the devatas and the rituals whose minds are absorbed in me, even at the end of their life, they know me. I repeat, those who know me as centered on the physical world, the devatas and the rituals whose minds are absorbed in me, even at the end of their life, they know me. Those who know me in this form, they alone gain me, says the Lord. Here, moksha is the phala, result. That is, the purushartha is moksha. It was said previously in verse 28 that these people are dridavratas. And Shankara had pointed out that these people are sunishchita vijnanaha. Vijnanaha. These are people who have ascertained the Purushartha before they commit themselves to the pursuit of the knowledge of Parameshwara. So it was said in the verse 29 that having taken refuge in me, those who make effort for freedom from old age and death, they know that Brahman wholly as themselves. Jara marana mokshasya क्षम्यतां जरा मरण मोक्षया माम आश्रित्या ये यतन्ति ते तत् ब्रह्मा विदुः. Up to verse 28, Bhagavan was talking in the first person. Now suddenly in verse 29, he put it in the third person and said, Te adhyatmam brahma viduhu. They understand the Pratyagatma as Param Brahma and also understand all that is connected to Pratyagatma. They understand that the Karta, Karma, Karma Phala, etc. are all mithya. Now, in this verse, he reverts back to the first person again and continues. I repeat this paragraph. Very important it is. Please pay attention. Those who know me in this form, they alone gain me, says the Lord. Here moksha is the phala, result, that is the purushartha is moksha. It was said previously in verse 28 that these people are dridavratas, and Shankara had pointed out that these people are sunishchita vijnanaha. These are people who have ascertained the purushartha before they commit themselves to the pursuit of the knowledge of Parameshwara. I repeat, please pay attention, very important sentence. These are people who have ascertained the Purushartha before they commit themselves to the pursuit of the knowledge of Parameshwara. So it was said in verse 29 that having taken refuge in me, those who make effort for freedom from old age and death, they know that Brahman wholly as themselves. Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya ye yatanti te tad brahma viduhu. Up to verse 28, Bhagavan was talking in the first person. Now suddenly in verse 29, he put it in the third person and said, Te adhyatmam brahma viduhu. They understand the Pratyagatma as Param Brahma and also understand all that is connected to Pratyagatma. They understand that the karta, karma, karma phala, etc. are all mithya. Now, in this verse, he reverts back to the first person again and continues. He says that previously what was said as Brahman is myself. He says those who know me as Sadhibhuta, Sadhidaiva and Sadhiyajna. That is Sarva Bhuteshu, Sarva that. I repeat, he says that previously what was said as Brahman is myself. He says those who know me as Sadhibhuta, Sadhiva and Sadhiyajna. They know me as themselves. Adhyatmam te viduhu. Atmatvena te viduhu. Brahman as Jagat Karana is Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva and Adhiyajna. I repeat, as there was a breaking of voice, he says that...
Sorry, Bela, sorry, 1 minute. It is Adhibhuta, Adhi. There is no drag there. Huh? Adhibhuta,
Okay,
Adhidaiva and Adhiyajna.
Dhanyavad. Astu. I'm repeating the paragraph. He says that previously what was said as Brahman is myself. He says those who know me as Sadhibhuta, Sadhidaiva. Is it Sadhibhuta? No, Sadhibhuta, Sadhidaiva, Sadhiyajna. They know me as themselves. Adhyatmam te viduhu. Atmatvena te viduhu. Brahman as Jagat Karana is Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva and Adhiyajna. This Brahman they know as themselves. This is a particular way of talking. This is called Rasikritya Kathanam. Rashikritya Kathanam. I hope I am correct in my pronunciation. Rashikritya Kathanam.
That's perfect, Bela.
Yeah. This is called Rashikritya Kathanam, a collective mention, putting everything together and saying, all this is myself. Such a beautiful sentence. Otherwise, it will be an endless process of saying, I am this, I am that, etc. By saying that I am the one who obtains in the form of all the devas, in the form of all the factors related to yagna or yagna purusha, and in the form of all the bhutas, the 5 elements or the karya karana sangata, the body, mind, sense complex. That means Sarvam Brahma. This is a way of saying that all this is Brahman. You will often find this particular expression in the Shastra. Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyajna. It is very important to know what these words mean. Bhagwan will also talk about it in the next chapter because Arjuna is going to ask a question about these words. The Lord says, if you want me to, this is very, very important and very beautiful paragraph. I can't stop myself from repeating. Those who know me in this form, they alone gain me, says the Lord. Here, moksha is the phala result, that is the purushartha is moksha. It was said previously in verse 28 that these people are dridavratas, and Shankara had pointed out that these people are sunishchita vijnanaha. These are people who have ascertained the Purushartha before they commit themselves to the pursuit of the knowledge of Parameshwara. So it was said in verse 29 that having taken refuge in me, those who make effort for freedom from old age and death, they know that Brahman wholly as themselves. Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya ye yatanti te tat brahma viduhu. Up to verse 28, Bhagwan was talking in the first person. Now suddenly in the verse 29, he put it in the third person and said, Te adhyatmam brahma viduhu. They understand the pratyagatma as param brahma and also understand all that is connected to pratyagatma. They understand that the karta, karma, karma phala, etc. are all mithya. Now, in this verse, he reverts back to the first person again and continues. Brahmaraji, could you please just highlight why Swamiji has used the word Pratyagatma?
I think we've had this word one more time also. We had the same term. It is only to say this is the Swarupa of Brahma. That's it. It is similar. I mean, Pratyagatma. This Jnani understands that he is nothing but the Swarupa of Brahma, which is Pratyagatma.
Okay.
Jai Gurudev, it was mentioned in the previous shloka that you have to see that Brahman as totally identical with yourself. Pratyagatma.
See, because Atma can mean two things. Atma could mean I, the small I.
Yeah, body, mind, intellect.
The body, mind complex, the Karya, Karana, Sanghata. It could also, for a Jnani, it is expanded to include the sum total, the whole Brahman. That is the Pratyagatma, where he does not see a difference between himself and Brahman. There is no other, basically.
Okay.
He's in that Advaita.
Total Atma and the body-mind complex, whole thing is Pratyagatma, right?
Yeah. See, because if you look at it from the bigger picture, all of this, the body, mind, all the Panchamahabhutas, Maya included, everything has its basis in the Atma. So realizing that all of this is in that one Atma, that is the Pratyagatma. There is no difference between that and this. But he recognizes that he is the Pratyagatma.
I think that is why we here Adi Daivik Adi, we have that three tapana. We try to say Bhagwan in prayer. Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adi Adhyatmik, right?
Yeah, I think that is when Bhagwan wants to say that he is, specifically in this verse, that he is the creator of all of this. That is what he says. Instead of me saying I'm here, I'm there, and I'm everywhere, he's just put everything in that, whatever that Rasi Kritya Kathanam, it's a method of including everything, the sum total. Like he's saying, I'm Srishti, Sthiti, Laya Karta. I'm the creator, I'm the sustainer, I'm also the one who dissolves everything. Similarly, this Adhibhuta, Adi Yajna, Adi Daiva. And Adhyatma.
So beautiful paragraph. This is, my God. Sarvam Brahmamayare. He says that previously what was said as Brahman is myself. He says those who know me as Sadhi Bhuta, Sadhi Bhadaiva, and Sadhi Yagna, they know me as themselves. Adhyatmam te viduhu, Atmatvena te viduhu. Brahman as Jagatakarana is Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva and Adhiyagna. This Brahman they know as themselves. This is a particular way of talking. This is called Rashikritya Kathanam, a collective mention putting everything together and saying, all this is myself. Otherwise, it will be an endless process of saying, I am this, I am that, etc. By saying that I am the one who obtains in the form of all the devas, in the form of all the factors related to yagna or yagna purusha, and in the form of all the bhutas, the five elements or the karya karana sanghata, the body mind sense complex. That means Sarvam Brahma. This is a way of saying that all this is Brahman. You will often find this particular expression in the Shastra, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva and Adhiyagna. It is very important to know what these words mean. Bhagwan will also talk about it in the next chapter because Arjuna is going to ask a question about these words. The Lord says, they know me, Ishvara, who is Sadhi Bhuta, Sadhi Daiva, and Sadhi Yajna. Sadhi Bhuta Adhi Daivam, Mam Sadhi Yajnam Cha Ye Viduhu. The word Sa, that is compounded to the words Adhi Bhuta, etc., is Saha, which means along with. In all those expressions, what is indicated is Ishvara, the one who exists in the form of the sun, moon, stars, etc., and all the devatas thereof. Adhibhuta is all that is centered on the bhutas. Bhutani adhikritya bhavati iti adhibhuta. The bhutas can be taken as the karya karana sanghatas. Therefore, Bhagavan says, what obtains in all the karya karana sanghatas is myself alone as pratyagatma. The bhutas can also be taken to mean the five elements. Similarly, Adhidaiva is what is centered on the devatas. Devan adhikritya vartate iti adhidaiva. Adhi yajna is what is centered on the yajnas, the rituals, etc. This means that Bhagavan is the one who is the form of the very ritual. Yagno vaya Vishnuhu, Yagnadhipati. Because he is the real receiver of the offerings in the yajna. And he is the one who is in the form of Karmadhyaksha and Karma Phaladata. Very beautiful. I just read the last line again. This means that Bhagavan is the one who is the form of the very ritual. Yagno vai Vishnuhu, Yagnadhipati, because he is the real receiver of the offerings in the yajna. And he is the one who is in the form of Karmadhyaksha and the Karma Phaladata. Thus, Bhagavan says, these people recognize me as the one who is in the form of this world as Adhibhuta, from whom nothing is separate, and also as all the devatas as Adhidaiva, the one from whom no devata is separate. Further, he says, they also recognize me as Adhi Yajna. Yajna means a ritual. Thus, he says, these people see that the result of the karma and the devata invoked are all me. They recognize me as the truth of karma. Adhyatma is what is centered on the individual. In the previous verse, Bhagavan talked only about Adhyatma. He had said that they know Brahman as Adhyatma, Pratyagatma. Now he converts the whole thing into Ishvara again. That is, he says Ishvara is Brahman. This is how it is established that there is non-difference between Ishvara and the Jiva. I repeat the last paragraph. Adhyatma is what is centered on the individual. In the previous verse, Bhagavan talked only about Adhyatma. He had said that they know Brahman as Adhyatma, Pratyagatma. Now he converts the whole thing into Ishvara again. That is, he says Ishvara is Brahman. This is how it is established that there is non-difference between Ishvara and the Jiva. So I think here very well Tat Padam is proved. Knowledge of Ishvara as both efficient and material cause. When a given phenomenon like the sun is looked upon as Ishvara, Ishvara is considered the material cause, Upadana Karana. This is the Adhibhuta vision of Ishvara. When Ishvara is considered as the efficient cause, the Nimitta Karana of the sun, etc., it is the Adhidaiva vision. These are the two levels. Ishvara as the Nimitta Karana is Adhidaiva, and as the material cause is Adhibhuta. So very beautiful. Please pay attention. I'm reading once again. Knowledge of Ishvara is both efficient and material cause. When a given phenomenon like the sun is looked upon as Ishvara, Ishvara is considered the material cause, Upadana Karana. This is the Adhibhuta vision of Ishvara. When Ishvara is considered as the efficient cause, the Nimitta Karana of the sun, etc., it is the Adhidaiva vision. These are the two levels, Ishvara as the Nimitta Karana and Ishvara as the Nimitta Karana is Adhidaiva and as the material cause is Adhibhuta. These people know Ishvara as Adhyatma, which was pointed out in the previous verse. Adhyatma is also Brahman. That is, they see themselves as Brahman. Then what left out? Nothing. Everything is Bhagavan. The world is Bhagavan. All the devatas are Bhagavan. Your physical body and mind and senses together called Adhyatma and Pratyagatma are all Bhagavan. This is one way of saying everything is Bhagavan. Nothing else is there here in this universe other than Bhagavan. Very beautiful paragraph. I repeat the last line. The world is Bhagavan. All the devatas are Bhagavan. Your physical body and mind and senses together called Adhyatma and Pratyagatma are all Bhagavan. This is one way of saying everything is Bhagavan. Nothing else is there here in this universe other than Bhagavan. So beautiful. Therefore, the Lord says, those who know me in this form are non-separate from myself. First, you recognize Ishvara as Paroksha, that is, you understand that this entire Jagat is Ishvara. Then afterwards, you internalize the whole thing and understand my own body, mind, senses are all Bhagavan. And the consciousness, Pratyagatma, behind this body-mind complex is the truth of Bhagavan. So beautiful. Those who are Yukta Chetasah, Yuktam Chetah Yesham Te. Those who are Yukta Chetasah, Yuktam Chete Yesham Te. Meaning those whose minds do not have any inhibiting factors. Know me like this, even at the time of travel, death. This is a belief which cannot be supported with any great logic, that what kind of course the departing soul takes depends on what the final thought of the person was when he or she was dying. That is why in India there is a custom of naming people with the names of the Lord. A person dying is likely to call out his son by name, and if that is the name of the Lord, he will be reminded of Bhagwan, and that would give him a good gati. But it is not easy to remember the Lord at the time of death, unless all one's lifetime one has lived a life keeping the Lord in mind. It is not possible. I repeat, unless all one's lifetime one has lived a life keeping the Lord in mind, it is not possible. The thought of Narayana will not come even if one has named his son as Narayana. He will tend to use some diminutive of the name and never remember Bhagavan. Even a great upasak is not going to remember his upasya at the time of death, because his attachment to his own children, etc., is so much that he will remember only those things, or he will think of his omissions and commissions and will be riddled with guilt and hurt. Unless a person is very mature, it is not easy to have the thought of the Lord at the time of death. While this is so, the Lord says, if you know me, there is no such problem. Whether it is at the time of death or not, there is no question of your losing sight of me. Vismaranam nasti. Vismaranam nasti. So beautiful. Because without knowing the Lord, it is a question of Narayana Nama Smarana, remembering the name of Narayana. But here it is Narayanasya Tattva Jnana, knowing the truth of Bhagwan as myself. Here there is no ignorance of Bhagwan at all. The knowledge that I am Narayana, Narayanah Aham, is not subject to Vismarana, forgetfulness. Ignorance cannot come back. Even if a person goes into a coma, that does not really create ignorance. The mind may not function, and the mind may be incapable of responding to the external world. But the ignorance gone is gone. It can never come back. Therefore, Bhagavan says, Prayana kale api mam viduhu. Even at the time of death, they know me. This is the meaning of the word api in this statement. At the time of death, even though there is generally vismarana for most people, including the upasakas, the jnani do not have this vismarana. When they are alive and well in the body and mind, with strong commitment, they put forth adequate and proper effort to know Bhagwan, Mam Viduhu. How do they know? They know that all that is here is Bhagwan. Idam sarvam aham asmi iti viduhu. Sadhi bhuta adhidaivam sadhi yagnam mam viduhu. Also, they know that Bhagavan, who is in the form of all this, is not separate from themselves. That is, they know the Lord, who is in the form of all this, as themselves. Sadhi bhuta adhidaivam, sadhi yagnam mam, Ishwaram, atmatvena viduhu. And they know this even at the time of death, when generally there is vismriti. This is because there is no smriti apeksha, dependence on memory for this knowledge, unlike the knowledge of other things in this world. Self-knowledge is not to be remembered. Only self-ignorance has to go. This is because the self is always evident. Therefore, he says these people who are yukta chetasaha and do not have any inhibiting factor that prevents the knowledge know me even at the time of death. Knowledge, even at the time of death, releases. Finally, what the Lord says with reference to the final moment also means this: even those who only know me at the time of death, who gain this knowledge then, or those who have been living with this knowledge and are not swayed from it right up to the time of death, because it is so clear, they know prayana kale api mam te viduhu yukta chetasaha. Those minds are united to me, know me, not just remember me, even at the time of death. There is no return for them. They are Brahman. When I am everything and everywhere, who is to return and from where? I can go to some place and return if I am not there already. If I am only here, then I can go to heaven and come back. But heaven also is me. The heavenly bodies are me. All the devatas are me. All the angels are me. All the celestials are me. The local world is me. The sun, the moon, and stars, the physical body, mind, and senses are all me because I am Brahman. Tell me now, who is to go and where? Thus, those who know these five, that is, Adhyatma, Pratyagatma, their innermost self, and the body mind sense complex, Karma in its entirety, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, and Adhiyagna as Brahman, for them, their knowledge of the identity between themselves and Ishvara stands firm and unaffected even at the time of death. They were free living. They are free when this body has fallen. Thus ends chapter 7, in which the Tat Padavakya, the actual meaning of the word Tat, which is the Swarupa of Ishvara, and the Tat Padalakshya, the implied meaning of the word Tat, which is Brahman, was explained. We have already seen in the first Shataka that the Tvam Pada Lakshya, implied meaning of the word Tvam, is also Brahman. This is how the Vakya Tat Tvam Asi is unfolded. Om Tat Sat Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyaya Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nama Saptamodhyayah. Om Tat Sat Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. If you want me to read or repeat any paragraph before we stop for Manana, please let me know.
There's little more like only small this thing is there and then the chapter ends.
Yeah,
Little
but
bit.
the ambience which is set up by Bhagavan is so beautiful. And the way Swamiji has explained it is also so beautiful.
Can you just repeat the last paragraph, Bela?
Yeah, yeah. You mean the two last, because the
Yeah, the last subheading.
yes. Thus ends chapter 7, in which the Tat Padavakya, the actual meaning of the word Tat, which is the Swarupa of Ishvara, and the Tat Padalakshya, the implied meaning of the word Tat, which is Brahman, was explained. We have already seen in the first Shatka that the Tvam Padalakshya, the implied meaning of the word Tvam, is also Brahman. This is how the Vakya Tat Tvam Asi is unfolded. So, shall we just close our eyes and this beautiful feeling, Sarvam Brahmamaya Re, let it seep inside us, and then we can contribute. Jai Gurudev, Hari Om. Kindly share your takeaways. I will just read the shloka. साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः. Those who know me as centered on the physical world, the devatas and the rituals, whose minds are absorbed in me, even at the end of their life, they know me. So here, I think in this verse again, Swamiji has given more emphasis on our Nidhi Dhyasana, Shravana and Manana. Only then we will be able to remember at the end of our life. That is my takeaway. Kindly unmute and share.
Also, seeing him as both the nimitta karana as well as the upadana karana of everything. Like the example he gave was of the sun. When you look at the sun, he is not only the adibhuta, but he is also the adidaiva. He is the material cause as well as the the effect, the intelligent cause. So then, when you start from your surroundings, when you start recognizing Ishvara in every aspect of creation, right from your surroundings, from your body, you take your body for instance, then that uh, then at the time of death, you might remember him. Otherwise, you will only remember your omissions, commissions, or you'll be on a guilt trip. Oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Or you'll be thinking about your real estate, whom to give. So, in order for us to antakale cha mameva, smaran mukpa kalevaram, for that to happen, it has to be a practice and abhyasa. This Brahma abhyasa has to start from now. Tat kathanam, tat chintanam, anyonyat tat bodhanam. So you think about him, you read about him, you talk about him, And amongst yourselves also, like what we're doing right now, is you speak of his glories and his nature, his.
Also, the japa will help you also, like along with this knowledge, uh, Shravan, Manana, and Nididhyasana. You, if you are in practice of jap chanting, like japa, any type of japa. So, like there was a sentence in there, like if a person is in coma, he is. There was one. I can't figure out where in which paragraph it was, but like the
If he
even
loses his memory, his self
yeah,
knowledge will.
self knowledge
He
will
will
be there.
Yeah.
So he will like in his inner consciousness, like he will the that mantra would be going on, and it is seen that when in difficult times, na, that month automatically your jap starts, though you are silent, but it happens in the mind, it starts. So it this way, like when death is similar, it is a very painful event. So uh, when the body is in that state, so, uh, your that involuntary action starts happening. It automatically, it's as if switches on. It happens like that. So the knowledge you have, we are gaining this knowledge while we are in a good state, we are healthy, we are able to do all our uh, functions, whatever worldly affairs, we are in that state that we can uh, read, understand, we do the Shravan, Manana, and Nididhyasana. But when the stage of death is there, then only thing which remains is that which is involuntarily. You don't have to make an effort for it. It just comes automatically. Because I'm telling because you the jap mantra which was introduced by Nanaji, it was when he was in that state, people saw his mild trembling of lips, though he was in coma state just before death, few hours, and his very feeble mumbling of the nobody can hear, but the slight movements of lips, or maybe it may be not so, but that way he passed away very peacefully. But that mantra was going on, and all the people surrounding him, they were also chanting the mantra in their own minds. So his journey was very peaceful. Because when you get ill, whenever you get ill, you can experience that you can't remember the God's name. It's a practical experience. If you are having pain, you don't remember, you are just focused on that pain site. Nothing is uh, nothing you feel like uh, doing, or like thinking also. It's only that pain area or that suffering, you are just focused on that. Even all your near ones, like your close ones, they you will not be entangled in them, because the suffering which the body is having, your mind would be only on that. It's a human psychology, and we have experienced also, like whenever we get ill, your energy is so low, your mind doesn't work properly, and So at that time, it's only that the practice of that mantra that will go involuntarily, it will happen in the mind. Jai Gurudev.
Japa is a practice that is that even a sannyasi should continue to do, which is no doubt the importance of japa is very it's very important. At the same time, uh, it is also knowledge. It is not just the japa that we should pursue. In
No,
addition,
I'm
with
not
japa,
saying that
correct,
knowledge is
correct.
not important.
That,
Knowledge, you are having knowledge. That's why you are going for understanding the importance of japa,
yeah,
and
right.
they
Because
go
there are
side by
some
side.
sects that think of only japa will take you to moksha.
No. It's not
Which is
japa only. It's, you know,
correct.
when you are ill, then your awareness is so little. Like you are not in that healthy state that your mind is functioning well, or your body is supporting you. But at the time when you are in that feeble state, in that at that time the mind is in such a confused state. No, whenever you get ill, you can observe yourself also.
Which is
uh,
true.
yeah.
That is
So
why
at this
Patanjali
time,
says Vyadhi is one of the obstacles for yoga to
obstacle.
happen,
Yeah.
isn't it? Any Vyadhi for that matter, even if it's a small headache, it
Yeah.
will take you away from yourself, which is
Yes.
very right. So, in order for us to, in the last moments, also remember Ishvara, remember God, is for us to do it on a daily basis. Number one, of course, practice of japa is there's no doubt about its importance. Along with that, you are pursuing knowledge, as in like a jignasu. What is you're looking at the at all of this, the karya karana sanghata, or you look at the sum total of everything. Ishvara is nothing but adidaiva, adibhuta, adiyajna. Whatever you're doing, that beautiful shloka of chapter 4, I think 24th shloka, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi. So when you do that in every action of yours, from the time you wake up, the time you sleep, then you're bringing in the aspect of Brahma, of Ishvara, of Ishvara into everything that you're doing. So he's there constantly at the back of your mind, like the backdrop. You don't forget him. So that has to be a constant practice, along with Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana.
Yeah, there was one sentence also about the upasak. Can you remember? We read this, that even the upasak who are in the.
Let me just check.
We just read.
How to. That was the last verse, no?
Yeah, this last verse only. There was one sentence that even the upasak would be vismaya. I think something vismarna, no? We were reading that. Remembering the name of Narayana. Even a great upasak, here it is on 521 page, second paragraph. even a great upasaka is not going to remember his upasaya at the time of death, because his attachment to his own children, etc., he is so much that he will remember only those things. Though he is an upasak,
Correct.
but still he will be entangled in all his.
See, that is why unless a person is very mature, again and again, Swamiji is pointing out to our maturity in the way we think,
Yeah.
isn't it? That redirecting our way of thinking rather than me, my, mine, all the time being bound by this body, mind, senses. You go beyond that and you see what you are, what you truly are. So that maturity, if you have, then an upasaka will of course remember. Then it is not easy to have the thought of the Lord at the time. Unless a person is very mature, it is not easy to have the thought of the Lord at the time of death.
Yeah.
So,
if you practice the pratyak rupa, means nothing other than Brahma or Ishvara. And other thing which I like actually, I forgot what it was. I think Gurudeva gave us a mantra. Means Sahaj Samadhi, Bhanudidi gives us a mantra. But if we chant japa, we do the japa, we will be in the japa only. That mental activity will be there. But in Sahaj Samadhi, I think we take a mantra for 5 times and then we forget. And always Gurudev said meditation. Meditation is the solution for everything. So unless we meditate, these things will not happen at the death, means at the time of death. I feel so. Thank you.
correct. It is abhyasa, no? Dhyana comes under the abhyasa. So you're pursuing knowledge. It's not like you're just reading and getting some concepts. You also practice vairagya, you practice dhyana.
Yeah, you have to live that knowledge also.
Yeah.
Even the mantra also. Everything you have to just surrender. And that pratyagrupa, the word today came, no, pratyagrupa. Then we become that same thing. Then it's means anubhav se hi hoga.
Anyone else wants to share, or should we go to chapter 6? These 2 chapters are like powerhouses. Someone had asked, what is the last shatka? I don't remember who asked. So it is the first shatka, the first 6 chapters talk about the Twam aspect. The second 6 chapters up till 13, 7, 13, talk about the Tat aspect. And the last 6 chapters talk about the connection between the two, that Asi, the Tattvam Asi. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is a moksha shastra. It's a shastra for nididhyasana. So yesterday we stopped here. There is a part of the knower. I'm not going to go way behind, because I think we will. Nothing is separate from existence. This we saw, right? When you break down any object to its finest thing, what remains is only the isness. So that isness is the Satya. Only that which is self-existent can be called existence or Satya, which is nothing but consciousness, Chaitanya. Consciousness alone is self-evident, and everything else is evident to the self. Anything that you come to know, everything that you question is all for the knower, the person who is using the pramanas, the various means of knowledge, to ascertain the validity or the veracity of a particular object or statement of proof. Whereas the existence of the very knower requires no proof, because the existence of the knower is nitya aparoksha. Atma is nitya aparoksha. The knower must be a self-evident person. But who is this knower? In order for us to know some knowledge, we need to go to pramana, go to shastra and all that. But to know that we are self-existent does not require proof. But who is this knower? There is a part of the knower that is known to me. I know that I am the seer of the pot, Ghata Drashta, for which there is a thought aspect, an adjective, Vishesha, for the consciousness that is I. The thought aspect is an adjective and the substantive is nothing but Atma, consciousness. So the adjective is the thought and the subject or the substantive is Atma. Therefore, for the knower, there is consciousness. For the knowledge, of course, consciousness is present. And for the known, also consciousness. The self-existent aspect of consciousness is present. So this consciousness is there in the ghata also. That is why you're able to perceive it. Otherwise, it would not be existent. So therefore, for the knower, there is consciousness because there is that element, that seer, the one that is able to see. That is consciousness. The knowledge, of course, is consciousness. And the known is conscious. So all three are nothing but consciousness. All three, knower, known, and knowledge, are non-separate from the presence of consciousness. Appreciation of this fact is what is meant here by Atma Samstham Manah Kritva. This resonates very well with the example given today by Swamiji in the form of the sun. When you look at the sun, you're looking at the sun as Ishvara as the material cause. You're also looking at him as the efficient cause, the intelligent cause behind the creation of the sun. So the knowledge, known, and the knower, all the three are non-separate from consciousness. Redirecting the mind to the very basis of thoughts. This appreciation enables me to see the mind, whereas previously the mind was always engaged in thinking about this and that. The mind will still think about a variety of things, but now my attention is not upon what I see because I turn it away from the thoughts themselves and direct it to the very basis of the thoughts. This turning the attention is what is called dhyana, contemplation. You turn your attention from the object of thought, whatever it may be, to the basis of thought. And what is the basis of thought? Nothing but consciousness. So from the object of thought, you will get thoughts, but then you turn your awareness from the object of thought to the very basis of thought. The basis of thought is consciousness, whereas the object of thought can be anything. For example, a tree. The object of a tree thought is the tree, and the basis of the thought is consciousness. Therefore, the tree thought is not separate from consciousness. The tree is not separate from consciousness. And the knower of the tree thought is not separate from consciousness. All three being nothing but consciousness, Atma. This very appreciation is also a thought. And what does this thought do? It simply destroys the ignorance that the three are separate, and then it resolves. By not thinking of anything else but the oneness of all three, it resolves. Therefore, Krishna says here, may one not think of anything else. Na kinchid api chintayet. In fact, there is nothing else because everything is Atma. It is like everything is resolving into that bindu. And I'm thinking, it just come to me, the Mandala Vatika thing where we talk so much about the bindu is that point of nothingness where everything resolves, but that has the power to create so much. So when you resolve that thought that I am nothing but consciousness, the knower is consciousness, knowledge is consciousness, and the object of knowledge also is consciousness, then all of that, it merges into that thought itself resolves. And you just merge in that oneness of all the three. Na kinchidapi chintayet. In fact, there is no thought that will even arise at that point. The point being made here, of course, is not to move away from the appreciation of Atma as non-separate from everything else, because if you think of something else, this appreciation will go. I will read this again. The point being made here, of course, is not to move away from the appreciation of Atma as non-separate from everything. So we should appreciate that Atma is not separate from everything, because if you think of something else, this appreciation will go. One can also appreciate that a certain object is a tree and that he or she is someone who's looking at the tree, which is true. But then the tree, the thought of the tree, and the Atma, the one who looks at the tree, are all one and the same. Turning one's attention to the basis of these three is the appreciation, the contemplation being referred to in this verse. That is why in our meditations, in all our guided meditations, Gurudev starts with some known object, and from the known, from the form, he takes you to the formless. Similarly, even in Sahaj, you start with something which has, if you can call it a form, the mantra itself, it has a nama, it has a nama to it. So that you start with that, but that will take you deeper into the formless. In order not to think of anything else, you require dhriti, wisdom, which is gained by exposing the buddhi to the teaching. Only with the insight gained, with the help of the knowledge alone, can one practice this contemplation. Dhriti also implies courage here, because contemplation requires a certain steadiness, firmness, or commitment in order to understand the knower, in order to understand that knower, known, and knowledge are one and the same, given that our orientation has always been that they are separate. So for dhyana also, you require to have knowledge. Your buddhi, intellect has to be sharp, and it has to be exposed to this teaching. Otherwise, just having dhriti and having the practice of dhyana alone will not also help. So it is a combination of all of this. Dhriti, having dhriti, being exposed to the knowledge, backed by the knowledge, you practice dhyana regularly, along with, of course, your japa. Japa is outside of the dhyana. All of this will help one in maturing ourselves. But for contemplation, you require dhriti, you require knowledge backing you. Because our orientation has always been that they are separate. If you remember, this orientation we read some time back is about how Swamiji, when he from one country to the other, when the seating in the car is changed, by force of habit, he just goes to the other side to sit. So that orientation of ours has been there for lifetimes, that I am the body, I am the karya karana sanghata, I am the jiva. So in order for that orientation that I am separate from Atma to resolve, there is this dhriti that is required. That steadiness, firmness, or commitment in order to understand. We cannot give up saying, oh, I'm not able to get it, so let go of it. Maybe next lifetime I will get. No, this lifetime only, put in all your efforts, put in your dhriti. At the same time, without any feverishness. Oh, when will I get? When will I get? No. Instead of that, just stay with your practice and that will help. Seeing the fact removes the obstacles. Because the orientation that they are one is against our experience, there will naturally be some obstruction in appreciating this fact. Until it becomes clear, we can assume that there is some obstacle which will be taken care of by seeing the fact. Therefore, we do not worry about the obstacles. We simply keep on attempting to see, for which courage, firmness, and commitment are necessary. To emphasize this point, Shankara defined shanaihi shanaihi, slowly, slowly, here as na sahasa, meaning not immediately. When he said atma samstham manakritva, it does not mean that you immediately turn your mind to some object called atma. Atma is not something you can put the mind into or on. The mind itself is atma. There is no job to be done here. There is simply an appreciation. Therefore, a certain inner care is involved, wherein a contemplative atmosphere is created. In this atmosphere, recognition takes place for which no will whatsoever is involved. Slowly, slowly, during the period of time in which contemplation takes place, you take to Atma. So the actual appreciation does not require any will. The will is required for us to create that the ambience, to create the setting for this appreciation to take place. So all that dhriti, courage, commitment, faith, all of that is required to create that the background on which this will take place. Shanaihi, shanaihi. It is not like immediately I want it right now. No. Shanaihi, shanaihi. No will is required in contemplation. I think with your permission, I will just read this part because I think this will complete this verse. In meditation, will is only with reference to sitting and other preparations. Once these are taken care of, the will does not do anything. In fact, will is the problem and therefore has to be surrendered to the contemplation itself. The contemplation takes over your will, so to speak. The mind becomes as though possessed. You as a person, the contemplator, are possessed by that very contemplativeness. Therefore, no will is required here. So very wonderfully put. So when you're in that space of contemplation, when they're in that space of resolution, there is no will because it's so effortless. But all that will is required is to get you to that seat of meditation. What will you do? What will do you require to appreciate something beautiful? None. The very will gets resolved in the appreciation of that which is beautiful, that which is inspiring. What will is there when you have a love for something? Whatever will there is, just resolves. It is like how a mother, she very naturally takes care of her child. There is no will required. Mother doesn't say, oh, I will take care of my child. It's very natural because there's so much of love there. There is no will. It's spontaneous. Similarly, in contemplation, you do not push your will in order to gain Atma. Which is why Gurudev says that meditation is effortlessness. You do not grind your teeth, roll up your sleeves, sit in your seat of meditation and say, today I'm going to get that Atma. There is no such thing. It is not like wanting to do something or gain something that the world has to offer. If you want to do a particular job, for example, you can assert your will and get it done. But you cannot sit down, crush your eyelids together tightly and say that you're going to get the Atma. All that you will get is a headache. A person who tries to gain Atma by using his or her will not gain Atma because the person is Atma. Therefore, first one creates contemplativeness, which is taken care of by one's exposure to the teaching. You must know what you are aiming at, conveyed here by Atma Samstam Manakritva Na Kinchidapi Chintayet. Let the appreciation of Atma take place in the mind, either by contemplating on the non-separation of knower-known knowledge or by taking a particular expression such as Satyam Swarupoham, Satya Swarupoham. I am the truth of everything, and meditating upon it. This is a contemplation that is in keeping with the teaching. Nothing new, no new knowledge is created here. Rather, your mind is brought to focus on what is already understood again and again. This then is the meaning of the two expressions in this verse. Atma samstam manakritva nakinchidapi chintayet. Having said this much, Krishna adds a little more. So wonderfully explained by Swamiji how we need to sit at the seat of meditation. Apart from all the initial verses where he says you must sit on a firm seat, slightly above the ground, not too high, not too low. Keep your body still, your head in line with the spine, and focus your attention on the point between your eyebrows or the tip of your nose. After doing all that and doing the pranayama to get your mind to the moment, then he says, contemplate on the Atma. And what is this Atma? The Atma is nothing but you, the knower. But we don't know that I am the knower. We know that we have that little aspect that I am the knower, but it does not encompass everything. We see ourselves as separate from the object of knowledge. We see ourselves separate from the knowledge. But what we need to do in contemplation is to bring all these three together and see how they are non-separate from consciousness. The knower, known, and the knowledge are all one. They all merge into one. And for that, you either take a sentence like to contemplate, Satya Swarupoham, or you just contemplate on this knowledge. You need to have prior exposure to the teaching that Atma is non-separate from all of this. So you contemplate on that, and all the will that is required is for you to prepare your mind. That mind that is prepared. Once you've prepared, then if for actual contemplativeness to happen, there is no will required. It's because it's just like how you love something. You don't need to push yourself to enjoy it or to be with it. So you revel in that contemplativeness, and that very thought also resolves. It merges the knower, knowledge, and the known into one non-separate Atma. And then this we have to do slowly, shanaihi, little by little. You do it, but do it regularly and again, punah punaha. Atma samstam manakritva nakinchidapi chintayet. There is no sankalpa there that comes up. Yeah, so very beautiful. So if anyone wants to add or share, please do. So we have verse number 26, I think. Yeah, 26 that we have to do. So we'll go back to again this verse, these two verses. We wanted to read the PDF because it was very important that we understand it properly. But yato nischarati manaschanchalam astiram tatas tato niyamyaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. So it's open. Anybody can come forward, take this shloka, read about it, and give and present the summary tomorrow. So we'll continue that summary presentation from tomorrow. I think we have a few more verses in chapter 6. We'll close here today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.